Neat Nation, what's up? Yes, I did go full Baker Mayfield tonight. I adjusted my lighting setup a little bit so I could get a better HD picture on the live stream. As bright as all get. It's super bright. But I will probably take off these glasses because I kind of look like a douchebag. But whatever. Or I'll just go full DJ personality here. DJ Droopy. I mean, I could probably spin some dank tunes. I think that would be enjoyable. You guys might enjoy that. Although I do have very eclectic music taste. It's not for everybody. While I generally go for alternative rock, like I find like that's my jam. That's what I enjoy the most. Amberlin would probably be my favorite band. I enjoy a lot of different stuff. I like some jazz. I don't go to it often. I even like some pop, which, you know, I get a lot of flack for my affection for pop music, but it's more like classic pop. It's pop with a really strong melody. You know, I mean, that's all pop has a strong melody, but that's really, I think, what draws me to pop. Very singable. A lot of carpool karaoke with that stuff. But yeah, classic pop like Billy Joel. Man, it's hard to do better than Billy Joel, Phil Collins, Elton John. I stand by it. And more modern stuff is hit or miss for sure. But 80s and 90s pop, really great. Really awesome stuff. Anyway, glad you guys could jump on and join the stream. I would normally have Brian here, my co-host for the Entry Proof podcast, Brian Bikey from Abandoned Bourbon over on Instagram. But he blew a tire. So that's not great. Not great at all. He will hopefully be able to jump on. He may text me updates here. Last update was, did Tom know I'm tied up? Yeah, he's quite tied up. He's waiting for roadside assistance. Not the way you would want to spend Whiskey Thursday at all. But some days just suck. Today's not a bad day for me. Long work day this week. Long work days. I mean, it's end of day Thursday. I probably put in 40 already, but some are like that. Not bad at all. Just long. Lots of stuff to do. We have these workshops we host with our teams, you know, our cafe teams, just to check in and, you know, get everybody's perspective on how things are going. And we find that helpful. It's a good thing. But you guys are not here to listen to me talk about a coffee company, although I'm sure this conversation will devolve into coffee talk. That happens a lot on the Droopy Whiskey live streams because a lot of you guys like coffee. That makes sense. If you need coffee, you should check out stonecreekcoffee.com. That is my company, and we make good coffee. This is good whiskey. This is my warm-up pour tonight. Throw in the chat. Let me know what you guys are drinking. Because I'm bottle popping Weller here in a minute, I felt that it would be good, wise, and appropriate to start out with some makers. This is the 2020 limited release, 55.4% alcohol. Marriage of Virgin Toasted American and French Oak Staves. This is really good. I haven't had much of this recently. I drank a lot of it when I first opened the bottle, and I'm like, oh gosh, I want to stretch this one out. So I backed off a little bit. So yeah, this one smells amazing. It's got a lot of oaky presence. Brown sugar and clove. And then smooth dark chocolate on the palate. So it'll be interesting to go from this one to the Weller 107. I like Weller 107 a lot. But this Makers is an amazing wheated whiskey. Wheated bourbon specifically. So to make that transition, it's going to be, I think, a big test for Weller 107 to come off of that. So tonight, yes, we will bottle pop Weller 107, talk a little bit about the line extension of Weller, which has been dramatic over the last 2 years. Pretty remarkable. Of course, I was going to chat with Brian about that, get his take, but I'm going to need to get y'all's takes on this one now. We'll also talk about the latest episode of the Entry Proof podcast, which had to do a lot with Willet Distillery. It wasn't necessarily about Willet, but there was a lot of Willet-oriented content in that. We had Josh Devitt, who is the single barrel program coordinator, among many other things, over at Willet. And so that was really fun. It was awesome. That's up right now at entryproofpodcast.com. There's a link in the show notes below. It is cold here in Wisconsin. Like for the last 5 days and for the next 10 days, we've got, highs in the single digits, the teens, lows in the negatives. It's brutal. And the cold air, guys. I mean, I've been so tempted to be like, I'm just going to San Diego right now. I'm going south. I'm going to Texas because the eternal winter. I mean, it's February. It's not like April. I mean, we get big snowstorms here in April. So I'm trying to prepare myself for that. But I'm over it at this point. I'm over it. Carl says, is the 107 easy to get in Wisconsin? Eric Sawyer says, nope. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. I did have to do some wheeling and dealing to get my 2 bottles of 107. In my career, I have had 2 that I've drunk. I got 2 more, and I'm about to pop one of them. It is, very difficult to get pretty much everywhere unless you're in Ohio. The stocks of Weller in Ohio are the stuff of legend. Got some Ohio peeps in the chat probably. As some of you have reached out and said, oh yeah, I can get it if you want to stop by Ohio at some point, which I may. I did actually plan to run through Cincinnati when I was down in Kentucky a few weeks ago. But I did not. I ran out of time. Next time, maybe. I don't want to share. I've got some exciting news for you guys from the Entry Proof podcast, but I kind of want to wait for Brian. We'll see if he shows up, and then we'll share. If he doesn't, I may break the news without him. He would forgive me, I think. He would take me back. But we'll see. Just hang out. Enjoy the evening, guys. Buckle in and hit me with plenty of chats up in here. Just at me in the chat, at Drew P. Whiskey, so I can see it. So it shows up nice and bright orange for me. And we'll have a conversation about these whiskeys later after we talk about that Willet Distillery podcast episode. I'm going to drink 4 more, maybe 5 more craft whiskeys. I've got 2 here from Amy. Got 3 from my boy Fred. I have drunk 20 different. Zach Jones says, I thought this was Drew P. Whiskey. Sorry, wrong channel. Oh. Nice. Anyway, I've drunk 20 different craft whiskeys so far this year. Well on our way to that 100 goal. So we'll be at 24 or 25 by the end of tonight. Julian says, what's the status of the dank neat glasses? I have got to work on the merch, guys. I mean, I'm going to be taking 3 weeks off of work when my baby comes, and I plan to use some of the time to work on some of the infrastructure necessary to keep building up the channel. So you all have been clamoring for some neat tasters, and I can definitely make that happen with relative ease. I just have to do it. And I certainly have to do it before 3 months is up, because I owe some of our brand new Patreon supporters some neat tasters. So that is a point of news, which we did announce last week, but just remind everybody, if you're a fan of the Drew P. Whiskey channel, the new Entry Proof podcast, there's a link in the show notes below where you can now join up. All of you guys, if you're watching the show, you are officially a part of Neat Nation. That's not up for debate. But if you want to go deeper, you want to support the channel, that's a way you can do it. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But here in a couple months, I'm going to owe some people some swag. So best to get after it. This Makers is so nice. Hopefully you guys have been able to try this one. If not, it's worth seeking out. I don't think the secondary value on this was crazy. I mean, the retail price was like $60. Totally worth it. William Wiley, you did get the samples I sent last month. Should have been a box of 12 samples. William, yes, I did. I have them, and I will certainly get to them. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Whiskey Wiggle, Droopy Whiskey. I can't get anything except Special Reserve. What is most comparable to 107? Well, Special Reserve that's turned up a notch. I do like the 107 much better. It's got probably a little bit more age to it. It's richer, and that proof point certainly helps. What's most comparable to 107? I mean, a maker's cask is probably the closest thing you're gonna get, but it's really good. Maker's cask strength, standard maker's cask strength, you can get between $40 and $50. Really amazing value, and I recommend you do that. If you've never tried Maker's Mark cask strength, you guys should do that. You really should. All right, we're gonna cheers tonight. I make a toast, not really a cheers, but a send off. Don't want to be a downer necessarily, but many of you, if you are involved in the Instagram whiskey community, you may have heard of Scotch Trooper. Brett is the guy's name. Scotch, it was like Scotch_Trooper. Dude took some really, really dank whiskey photos with Star Wars figurines, big Star Wars geek. And in August, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he passed away today. He's got a wife, 2 kids, and just really, really sad. I look like a dork talking about this with my sunglasses on. Really super sad. I mean, from the time he was diagnosed, the acceleration of the cancer, he found out was stage 4 in November, and then passed away today. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know him. His page was really, really awesome. You should still go back and check it out. Again, Scotch_Trooper. But it's just, it's like a moment of pause. I recorded that video last weekend, the dangers of drinking whiskey. And of course, he didn't pass away because he drank whiskey, but it's in the video, I just allude to whiskey's not worth it. And it's in light of what's important in life. So just anytime we lose anybody, or somebody from our community passes away, a celebrity passes away, of course, a family member passes away, it's this moment to like, oh my gosh, yes, we are very mortal human beings. The fact that we can sit here and take breath right now, that's a gift. The fact that we can enjoy our bourbon is a gift, and we take it for granted so often. We treat it cavalierly. So certainly we're thankful for the moment that we have today. Thankful for the fact that, maybe I hope your loved ones are healthy. And certainly prayers if they're not, legitimate prayers, not if I ever said thoughts and prayers, that feels cavalier, but if you guys follow the channel, I'm very committed Christian, and so I believe that there's power in prayer and asking God to intervene, but I also believe that he's up to something that goes beyond our understanding, and that he works even in the midst of our pain. But a moment like today, or a passing of somebody, is a chance to just stop and go okay, I have today, I have tomorrow. With each breath, what am I doing? Am I redeeming the time? Am I proud of the life I'm living? Would I change anything? Is there anybody that I should communicate the care that I have for them? Should I communicate that now? Is there something I need to say? Is there something I need to do? So if we find ourselves in that situation, then we're ready to go, ready to meet our maker. So send off to Scotch Trooper. To that end, we can do a little fundraiser tonight. No pressure at all. But there is a benefit bottle that's Alexander Murray. I think that may have been the name of let me figure this out, guys. In the show notes, I put the link to this. I just forget the name of this bottling company, but lovescotch.com. It is Alexander Murray. I knew it. I thought maybe he was a Bible commentator. Forget. But Alexander Murray did a benefit bottle for Scotch Trooper to help pay with some of the expenses. There was also a GoFundMe, so now he's passed on. Benefits still there for his family, and that bottle didn't sell out. It's expensive as all get out. But I plan to buy a bottle. So any super chats on here tonight will go directly into purchasing that bottle, with the proceeds going directly to Scotch Trooper's family. Or you guys should go buy a bottle. Just go into the description down below. I did include the link to the bottle itself. It's 27-year-old Broicletic, which is, that's old. That's super old. And while $285 is a lot of money, that's actually not a bad value for that age of Scotch, and the funds are going in the right place. So again, if you guys super chat tonight, I'm going to use all those funds toward purchasing a bottle of that. So a bit of a fundraiser. Okay. I think I'm done with that now. If you can also Google the GoFundMe if you wanted to for Scotch. Just search GoFundMe Scotch Trooper. But again, I recommend you check out his Instagram. Pretty cool legacy. Also, like it's a fun opportunity. Not somebody passing away is a fun opportunity, but looking at his page is a fun opportunity and inspiration to be like, what should I create? Like, I think there's something about like creating as human beings, leaving a little bit of a legacy. Not that like, hey, look how cool I am, but something to have an impact on people with, whether that impact is simple and inspiring joy, like in the playfulness of Star Wars characters pouring and drinking whiskey. There's just something really, really beautiful about the work that Brett was doing over on his page. And unfortunately, he actually got a lot of crap from Disney. Like, they basically shut him down because their copyright, like, dumb copyright, whatever. But going back to what I was saying, because I'm rambling right now. If you don't have a pet project, like you're sort of your heartbeat, the thing that gives you vitality, I recommend you think about what that is. Like, what can I do / create, or how can I engage with people in a way that is unique to me? It's worthwhile, and it's a lot of fun. Like, this channel has sort of been that for me. It's a way to use my evenings or use some free time and try and do something that's meaningful. I mean, it's a whiskey tube channel, so it's like, how deep could it be? Well, I mean, maybe pretty deep. A lot of you guys watch it and we get to engage, and I've made friends, and like, that's cool. Like, anything that we can do to help like create connection versus division is worth doing. There's plenty of division in the world. Like, I can create plenty of excuses for not liking people, not engaging with them. Like, I disagree with a lot of people, including family members, on things. But while it's probably human nature to let those barriers go up and divide us, I think it's a much more helpful thing for our society. It's a much more helpful thing for our psyche and our spirituality to say, you know what? I'm not about building walls. Like, I'm actually about like trying to create connection where there's none. Like, where there is connection, there can be reformation. Where there's connection, there can be restoration. So preaching is over. I'm 20 minutes into this thing. But yeah, I mean, whiskey is fun, but I think also whiskey can be a medium. It can be an avenue for creating connection and change, just like everything. Golf can be that way too. Golf's pretty dank in that you spend 4 hours hanging out with people, and it's a lot of time to chat. It's a lot of time to get to know each other, a lot of time to communicate care, see how people are doing. So actually, another really cool fundraiser was one that Rick Shields, who's a big YouTube golfer, Swing Nation, what's up? He was doing a fundraiser for mental health in the UK, particularly in light of COVID and all the separation that is existing in the world right now due to quarantine. So that was pretty cool too. You should check him out on YouTube if you like golf. Yeah, if you like golf and you're on YouTube at all, you definitely have heard of Rick Shields for sure. I feel like you earn credibility as a golfer if you're from the UK. Just you talk in a golfing sort of way. It's like South Africa, Australia, or the UK. They always make the best golfers or golf announcers. Just makes sense. All right, get into the chat here. Tom and Julian, big drops on the super chat. Yep, thanks guys, appreciate that. William Wiley, what would you bottle pop first? Yeah, let's get into the whiskey chat now. You guys have waited long enough. What would you bottle pop first? An Elijah Craig barrel proof A121 or an Old Forester single barrel strength store pick? A121 is 123.6. OFO is 131.6. Well, it depends on what else you have open, Will. I mean, if you have, yeah, I mean, it really depends on what you have open. I enjoy the Old Forester single barrel strength, but I like the Elijah Craig barrel proof better. Like that age, the time in the barrel really helps kind of smooth out the rough edges of a higher proof Elijah Craig. Whereas those Old Foresters, because they haven't had as much mellowing time in the barrel, they can be pretty hot. So like if you want something to kick you in the face, go Old Forester. If you want cinnamon and banana, go Old Forester. If you want more vanilla and buttercream, something a little more gentle, go with the Elijah Craig. Antho, Droopy Whiskey, we spoke on IG. Is there a PO box to where we send the samples? I'll send you my office address. I can drop it here real quick. So you can send samples here. All right, Julian, did you end up picking up the Kentucky Owl 10-year rye? Julian, I did not, because I spent so much money in Kentucky. I have not been to the shop where I know they had batch 3 Kentucky Owl 10-year. I was tempted to get it. I mean, the bourbon junkies really, really like them some Kentucky Owl. I've never had it though. But I know that batch 4, this final rye batch was, I mean, it was $230 MSRP. But still, that batch 3 was like $170. So it's just a big price tag. So I haven't spent money on anything except for some Eagle Rare store picks from Timers and Racine since I went to Kentucky. Now my next purchase will be this Scotch Trooper bottle. Edward Fulmer, Drew P. Whiskey. I picked up a David Nicholson 1843 today. Haven't tried it. Have you tried it? No, actually. I have the old bottled in bond version. So this was discontinued 5 years ago or so. But I was able to find one of these Dusties. I don't think this qualifies as a Dusty per our chat a couple of weeks ago. But I've just been, I don't know, saving it for a live stream or something. I'll pop this at some point. But it's one of those, David Nicholson is one of those that's supposed to be pretty good, but largely goes ignored. So yeah. Anybody in the chat a big Nicholson fan? I've never met somebody who was like, oh, I really love Nicholson. I don't know why. I mean, I've pretty much had people recommend and say they have a deep affection for pretty much any other bourbon, but never Nicholson. All right, it's time to finish this Makers. While I do that, this is the hard thing about hosting by myself, is that I don't have time to actually drink the alcohol. I love that 110 proof point. Oh yeah, here's what I did with the Weller. This Maker's at 110 proof. Like I mentioned before, 100 to 115. It's my money zone. So, speaking of proof in Weller, what was it? Early last year, maybe even the year before, Weller announced, Weller being Buffalo Trace Distillery, announced that they were releasing the Weller Foolproof. That was in addition to the standard Weller line. The Weller line that, if you're a bourbon geek, you've been familiar with. The Weller 12. The Weller 12 at what? $200. Tom says, my name is Brian. So Brian Bikey is lurking here in the chat. He's probably sitting in his car waiting for his whatever that's called, some help with the car. So Brian, good luck to you, dude. I mean, you could jump on StreamYard here and I could put you up on your phone. But anyway, going back to Weller, we've all been familiar with Weller 12, Weller Special Reserve, and Weller 107. Weller 12 is very hard to get, and the secondary value on that is like $180 to $200. These bottles, Weller 107 and Weller 12, used to be $30, maybe $40, but it was never super widely distributed. It wasn't in Wisconsin, as far as I've heard, not really widely available. And then when Pappy moved to Buffalo Trace, what was that? 2006, I wanted to say. I mentioned it in my my What's the Deal with Buffalo Trace video, but now I forget the year. That really accelerated the fervor for Weller products because it was equated with Pappy. Weller being the wheated bourbon from Buffalo Trace, Pappy being a wheated bourbon. Like, oh, it's the same thing. Well, yeah. I mean, now it's the same core juice. So if you want something related to Pappy, then Weller would be it. But that took the Weller line for a serious ride. And so even Weller 107 right now, I think the secondary value on this is like $90 a bottle, whereas the MSRP is still $40. So it's a bummer. Makes it really hard to find. But with all that traction, that desire for the Wellers, Buffalo Trace said, okay, let's give the world at least more variations of Weller. I haven't seen any more Weller actually out there. I haven't seen an increase in the amount of wheated bourbon from Buffalo Trace hitting the shelves, but we've seen more variations, which include the Weller Foolproof, so 125 proof Weller, and we've seen now Weller Single Barrels, Weller Craft Your Perfect Bourbon at 90 proof, the white label. And now we're gearing up for Weller Toasted, which I don't think anybody's actually had yet. But it's like, good grief, guys. Can you just please make more Weller 107? We still don't have it in Wisconsin. So you're releasing all these goofy products, which is cool, I guess, if you're a collector and can, finagle your way to get them. But I had to finagle to get the Weller 107. So maybe let's just distribute that a little wider, please. I don't know. I honestly don't get it. Like, it feels a little bit crazy. But I'm also not one to question Sazerac because they seem to really know what they're doing in both manufacturing and marketing whiskey. So cheers to those guys. But yeah. So I have had Weller Special Reserve, I've had Weller 107, and I've had Weller 12. Weller Special Reserve is solid. I mean, it's comparable to Makers. I don't think it's better than Makers. Blind taste test of Makers and Weller Special Reserve is definitely in my future. My parents did pick me up 2 bottles of Special Reserve that they got in their hometown, and I will get those in April when my mom comes up after my baby is born. So that'll be great. And then we'll do a side-by-side taste off between Makers and Weller Special Reserve. It's okay. It's good. It's solid. Solid budget bourbon. You shouldn't pay secondary value for Weller Special Reserve, which is about $40, whereas MSRP on Weller Special Reserve is about $25. Weller 107, I mentioned, is, it's a little bit higher proof. It's a little bit higher aged. So it's got a richness that the Weller Special Reserve just does not have. This is my favorite of the 3. Weller 12, lower proof, what is it, 90? 95. Sub 100. But man, it just didn't do it for me. It wasn't as sweet as I thought it would be. There's not much oak for it being 12 years old. It was kind of drying. Just didn't pack a whole lot of delicious flavor vibes for me. Like, I get that it's rare, but It's not my favorite. So yeah, I haven't had the Weller Full Proof yet, which is basically Weller 107, but higher proof. So it's bound to kick you a little bit at 125 proof. Like, that's high. Remember that's high. Craft Your Perfect Bourbon is what Buffalo Trace apparently produced after doing a survey for like 2 years or whatever on their website, where you could kind of pick the things you liked most about bourbon, like what's your favorite proof level, favorite age, favorite mash bill. And then at the end of the day, it would tell you, well, this is probably the bourbon closest to what you said you liked. Buffalo Trace took all the data from that survey, and apparently the average, or what would be the most highly sought after age and proof level and mash bill out there, created the Weller Craft Your Perfect Bourbon product, a 90 proof, like 6 to 8 year old Weller product, which is like, really? Is that actually what they wanted? The reviews on that were not good. They were not great. People generally preferred the 107 to the Craft Your Perfect Bourbon, but the Craft Your Perfect Bourbon secondary value is ridiculous. It's like 300 plus because it was hard to get, like it was rare. But if you read the reviews, there's no, like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go get that. You should get 4 bottles of Weller 107 off the secondary market if that's your shtick. The single barrels, I know nothing about. I haven't even actually read much about people who had them, but I mean, it's a single barrel of Weller, so it's got to be pretty straightforward like that. Finally, Weller Toasted. I mean, the toasted thing, like, everybody's into these toasted products right now. Like, Elijah Craig toasted, Michter's toasted bourbon, Michter's toasted rye, Woodford toasted, J.W. Kelly has a toasted or double barrel, Old Forester 1910. It's just a big thing. I'm getting kind of tired of it, honestly. It's like, okay, we get that you can dump it in another barrel. If you love oak, like heavy oak presence in your whiskey, then these toasted products are right up your alley. I mean, of course, I'd be curious to try the Weller Toasted. I would never say no to that. But I do think it's a little bit exhausting, all these toasted products. But you go where the hype is, and because the toasted products have done well for other distilleries, I'm sure Buffalo Trace sees that, and they're like, all right, we'll do it toasted. Fine. All right, we'll get in the chat here. We'll come back to Weller in a minute. Michael Stapleton, Droopy Whiskey, would you be interested in a Laws Rye finished in Sauterne cask for a sample? I'm always open to samples. I threw that address on there if you want to send me samples. What I would tell you is I have a lot of samples right now that I'm working through for this craft whiskey journey, and I'm so thankful. Y'all are great. If you send me samples now, I can't necessarily guarantee that I will get to them on a live stream currently. If you just want to send me stuff to try, I super appreciate it. You guys rock. Neat Nation is the best. But yeah, I may not be able to get to them on a live stream. So your call. I'm not begging for stuff, but y'all are awesome. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Cameron says secondary for Weller Antique has jumped up to the 250-300 range in Ohio during the dry December and seems to be flying off the shelf. $250 to $300 for Weller Antique. Seriously? Yeah, I mean, good grief. Maybe I won't pop this bottle. No, I definitely won't. I already promised I would do it. All right. Sorry, just checking, reading the chat, making sure I didn't miss anything. Get some water in the system here. Well, let me slam this, drink some water, and then we're popping this bad boy. One note. So, previous to this bottle style, Weller came in that more squat bottom, kind of looked like the Barton bottles, and it was not sexy. I mean, it was good and more easily attainable back in those days. That was pre my days in whiskey. This rebrand looks really nice. But back in the olden days, and even after the initial rebrand, they had screw tops. And so they only recently went to this foil covered cork, which to me is a great choice. Like, this looks way better than the screw tops. Like, this, it just has, it's classier. Like a screw top, it's convenient, it's a nice seal, but it's not classy. I mean, if you guys know me, I mean, obviously, I like to keep it classy. Obviously, I'm not into ascots, but all right, here we go. Yeah, that noise, like, of the ripping of the foil. Tactile is great. Like, it's oddly satisfying. Look at this. See if I can. Yeah, I mean, isn't that awesome? It's the little things. Let's pop this sucker. Yeah, nice pop. Very high pitched on that one. Sometimes you pop it and it's like, it's got a boom. And obviously that would be my favorite one, where it really packs a punch. That one was very high pitched. Oh, man. Yeah, when I first tried Weller 107, I was looking for it because I had heard good things. It was early in my journey. My dad and I were going hunting. So we left Wichita Falls, Texas. I had gone down there from Wisconsin. And we drove from Wichita Falls down to Bryan, Texas, which is around College Station somewhere. I actually don't know what direction it is from College Station. We're deer hunting. And we stopped at some liquor store right off the highway just south of Fort Worth, and there was one bottle of Weller 107 in there for $40, and I was jacked. I was so thrilled. And then when I got home to Wisconsin, not long after that, I popped it, and I really liked it. And of course, you know, if it's a whiskey that's been hyped and, you know, you're jazzed to taste it, you're going to be predisposed to like it. So, you know, we keep that in mind that, okay, maybe I'm just influenced by my bias here. But I've had it since and I still really like it. So in terms of my favorite wheated whiskeys, I'd like to say makers because I'd like to avoid the hype of Weller. But man, guys, I just really like Buffalo Trace products. Eagle Rare, I just love Eagle Rare. Stag Junior, it's fantastic. E.H. Taylor and Weller, yeah. They just do a great job. So the nose on this, man, it's almost helpful to compare to the makers. The makers, I get more of a sort of this funky clove, whereas the Weller, there's a clarity to it, which is a terrible descriptor, but it smells like non-funky toasted oak. There's not much spice to it at all. Maybe a little maple syrup in there. A lot of honey. Honey kind of mouthfeel, honey kind of flavor vibes. Not complex. Like, I would not call Weller 107 a complex whiskey. Very straightforward. The age, like, it's not super aged, but the amount of oak reminds me of Eagle Rare. It's got more barrel character than a Buffalo Trace. It doesn't have quite as much as Eagle Rare, but more than Buffalo Trace. So it's like, okay, it spent some time in a barrel. It's very sweet. It's a little bit richer than Buffalo Trace. Of course, I'm going to attribute that to maybe more barrel time and the wheat over the very low rye mash bill that is Buffalo Trace. So this is one of those that's just like, well, this is just good. Like, it won't knock your socks off. It's not blow you away, but there's nothing to not like about Weller 107. And it's just like right up the middle. Give me a fastball high and tight. Not high and tight, but you're just blowing it by them with 98 miles an hour right after you had thrown them a curve. So, Tom, thanks. Yeah, if you're digging the vid, you're enjoying this, you're enjoying the whiskey chats, and you wouldn't mind just throwing a like on there, that would be dank. I would appreciate it. Whiskey Wiggle asks, what was the biggest hype that ended up disappointing you? Dude, that had to be Michter's Toasted Barrel Bourbon. Last week on the Drew P. Whiskey live stream, I did pop the Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye, which was quite enjoyable. And I was glad. Like, I think the higher proof on the toasted rye and the rye help cut through the heavy oak. Like, heavy oak is okay, but you got to keep it in balance. Michter's Toasted Bourbon from 2018 was only oak. That was it, and it was dry as all get out. Me no likey. It was just too much on the toasty oak. I did chat with a friend of mine, guy I really respect, good palate, who had said he had it was like 2015 Michter's Toasted Bourbon. He said he really enjoyed that, and he didn't really vibe on the 2018 either. So if you had the 2015 Michter's Toasted Bourbon and you liked it, okay, no judgment there. But I was disappointed. I had held on to that toasted bourbon for a while. I opened it with friends. I was like, okay, guys, let's pop something special, and poured a little bit for everybody, passed it around, and then I tasted it, and they're all looking at me. I'm like, it's not good. Like, I wish it was better. Should have been better given the reputation, but whatever, it's like other people liked that one, which is fine. At least I let other people try it, but I ended up using that one for blending, which I had mentioned I want to do an episode on blending at some point. And I'll probably end up doing it in a live stream, because if you have something like that Michter's Toasted or an Elijah Craig Toasted, and you have something that's really, really spicy, sort of blending that really oaky with a really spicy, like a young rye, can create a really unique product. So yeah, just because you don't like something, don't drain pour it, or don't necessarily look to give it away right away, because you might be able to create a pretty cool whiskey on your own, just taking the most prominent feature of that whiskey and trying to accentuate that, juxtaposed against some other whiskeys that bring other features. I actually blended it with a very, very rye forward Knob Creek pick. So took a high proof Knob Creek, very rye forward, with that heavy oak, and it worked out. I enjoyed that. Enjoyed it a lot. Commenter McComment Face, thoughts on Old Elk? Had a couple OE store picks now, and they're really great. I have heard great things about Old Elk, but I have not gotten around in my craft whiskey journey to try those yet. But really cool brand. And if you guys ever saw the gift sets for Old Elk with that elk pourer head, man, that looks pretty dope. I almost bought one of those just so I could have that elk pouring thing, because I thought it was cool. Marketing wins, y'all. I mean, what marketing is it's creating unique products or positioning products for people in hopes that they will buy them. So, yeah, I won't wax eloquent about marketing. It's not a marketing show. All right, let's talk a little bit about podcasts. In a second, William Wiley says, blending Old Forester 1915 by mixing 1910 with 1920, that makes a great whiskey. Yes, that is a good example. 1910 for me is a little too oaky. 1920 can be pretty hot. And the two of those might balance each other out really nicely. I know Jackie Zeichen, master taster for Old Forester, really likes that blend. 1915. There's no significance behind 1915 that year. You just equidistant between 1910 and 1920. Jeff Winbush says, I've had 2 drain pours, Hayes Parker, and Town Branch. I've not had either one of those. Had zero interest in tasting that again. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it kind of goes. Like, and this is the hard thing about craft whiskey, is you'll taste something from a young distillery and it might be garbage. You're going to be really hesitant to go back. But they may end up producing really, really good stuff after learning a couple years and after their stuff spends a little bit more time in a barrel. But by then, have they blown their reputation already? Maybe. So it's a tough deal trying to get started in whiskey, particularly when your competition, like if your competition is Heaven Hill and Beam and Buffalo Trace, where their standard releases are at least 6 years old, you're trying to release something that's 2 years old. You're just, the comparison is not going to go great. It's not going to look good for you. Guys, it smells really good. Yeah, it's just there's some floral up in here now. It's like a garden with brown sugar and sweet cream. Cheerios. But Cheerios before the milk gets added, because actually when you pour the milk on Cheerios, it kind of gets a little stank. I don't like the stank of Cheerios. But when they're dry, they actually smell better. Jeff says, like your channel, man, as well as your snarky attitude. I have an anti-institutional streak. Here's a good question. Since it's just me, I have to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. No breaks. We're going to talk about the Willet podcast in a second. But I was asked, and I didn't answer. I think Tom asked me this. Is like, how do you see your channel fitting in with the Whiskey Tube verse? Like, I don't know that it actually fits in. It's different. There is enough content out there of. I don't want to be overcritical. It's not helpful. I don't mean to diminish anything else out there on the Whiskey Tube. Let me put it this way. I think there is a need for good educational, engaging, assessing content, like a critical thinking content that is also fun. So it would be very, very easy to be like, let's talk about whiskey and let's break this down and let's be educational. And then nobody wants to watch it because it's boring. So that's not great. Then it would be very easy to just be very fun and be entertaining and be bombastic, and not actually add anything to the community. Like there are people who do that really, really well already. And so, if I'm trying to create something slightly unique, then maybe I won't go that route. Maybe I can, do what I would want to see. When I said I'm going to, give this Droopy Whiskey channel a legitimate run, I thought, what would I want? Like, what's the kind of content that I want? Well, I would want something to give me an honest assessment of a product. I would want to learn about some of the brands and the backstories. But I want that to be fun. So I was like, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about whiskey. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to talk about the brands. I'm going to talk about the history, and I'm going to have fun doing it. And if I'm having fun, and I can be expressive and share my opinion honestly, then other people might appreciate that. So yeah, that's it. I mean, in the rest of my life, like in my other job, my day job, I represent a large coffee company full of many, many diverse people. And so it's about creating a community where that's okay. Like that's good. And we're all sort of aware that we're different people and that we all can work together here and create awesome coffee and community together and be different. So I do that. That's what I do there. And it's awesome. But I also here, this is just me. This is just my thing. So I can say what I think. I mean, it's just me, and the Entry Proof podcast is me and Brian. So I like, having a thing that's just mine where I can share my opinion. And of course, I'm not here to get, overly political or anything like that. Like that's not at all why I created this, but it's also helpful in going through something like we did at the start of this show, where I talked about, Scotch Trooper and, life, where I can be like, this is what I think is important in life. And nobody's going to be like, how dare you? I mean, you guys might, but, I can be like, well, I'm sorry, this channel's not for you then. All right. Brian is on. Whew. Brian, good. I need a break. So now you can talk for a little bit. Welcome.
Swing Nation.
Swing, dude! I cannot wait to go swing. I mean, I've been practicing. Like I'm eager to get out there and try and break 85. That's the goal this year. 87 was my low last year. I think I should have shaved at least 4 strokes off. But it's so dang cold and so snowy. What you got in the glass?
Well, I've missed the last 20 minutes or so while in the shuffle. Did you already do your bottle pop?
I did, but that's what's in my glass. So
that's what's in my glass.
All right. So let's have your notes, because I already threw some very basic notes out. I said I think. Well, I'm not going to say what I think. You tell me what you taste in Weller.
Okay. So yours is a store pick, correct?
No, it's straight up.
Oh, mine's a pick. So, what's up, nation? For one, I mean, I am glad to be here. Sorry I'm late. What a pain in the butt, but that happens. So I will go on record and say, for the most part, when it comes to 107s, I've tried a lot of 107 picks, and for the most part, I kind of lean towards the shelfer over a lot of picks. When it comes to a 107 to me, I really want a good, as we've talked about before, some syrupiness to the body is always good. And I think the shelfer has a pretty solid amount of oak in general. Mm-hmm. Like when I've gone back to just a regular shelfer after trying some picks, if someone were to put it in a blind for me, it usually shocks me that it's 107 because I know that it's not specifically that old compared. Oh, I'm blurry. Let me get this fixed.
By the way, did you notice that my picture is better tonight?
It looks clear. What'd you do?
Yeah. Well, I adjusted the lighting so that I'm lit up here right now. And so then I adjusted that camera's resolution. I was able to get it to actually work at 720p. Yeah, whatever. Versus that standard 460. So yeah. we're making progress here.
Okay, so I will full transparency. There was a sample that I got from a friend, a 107 pick from this place called Chard. And I was looking for that sample leading into today because I thought it was the only 107 I'd have. Couldn't find it. And I found the sample that is labeled Minx. Now, I do have a bottle up here. There's a bottle from Minx and Pops, which is a package store in Georgia, I believe. And this has been my favorite 107. So again, I'm coming late. So Nation, I apologize if you guys have talked about this stuff. But to me, when it comes to Weller 107, and when we talk about Pappy Van Winkle or Van Winkle in general, I think that describing the 10-year Old Rip Van Winkle, which is also at 107 proof, to me, I would say it's a good example of like a great Weller 107.
Sure.
Pick.
Yeah.
So
I
to
that.
So to me, if I'm gonna say that a 107 pick is great, it has to stand up to the Old Rip to me. And so a lot of times I'll put 107s in blinds against Old Rip. And if it beats it, that goes into a short list of 107s that I just think are fantastic. And this one that I'm drinking is one of those two. It's a Minx and Pops pick. This one has like confectioner sugar on the nose. Like it's not quite doughy, but it reminds me of like powdered sugar.
Nice.
It has a good amount of oak to it. It's like popping with peach and a lot of apple. I find Weller products in general have a lot of apple and a lot of honey. So
I mentioned honey earlier.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling much apple. I would go pear over apple. Pear over apple for me.
I can see that because it's I can see that. But to me, mine is like, oh gosh, it's like the sugary, like cherry candy, cinnamon apple, and not cinnamon in a super cinnamon forward way, but in just like it's really woven into the cinnamon. Like it's almost like I'm eating a bowl of Apple Jacks or something, like Apple Jack cereal. So
I said Cheerios before you put the milk on.
Yeah, but it's in mine's not as Cheerio-y. It's definitely sweet. It definitely has some
Honey nut
berry in there.
Cheerios. It's honey nut Cheerios, dude. Like, yeah, it's not everyday
Sure.
Cheerios. Everyday
But I don't find it
Cheerios
as
are a
great.
waste of a meal.
Like when I think of Cheerios, I normally think that it's showing signs of youth and grain. And this to me is not giving me a lot of that.
Yeah,
but again, slightly different pick. Okay, so this is all the nose. Man, there's a lot there. All right. I'll jump into the chat here in a sec. I've kind of taken a pause, so I can't tell if people are blowing it up or not.
No, you're fine. Right. You're fine. Yeah, we can always circle back. This is about tasting. Like, let's get the tasting done. We'll come back to this other stuff.
It's got one thing, and I don't know if you've talked about this or not. Initially, to me, I was always told, or I always assumed that Wheaters, since it has wheat in place of rye, that it wouldn't be spicy. And I can see where it doesn't draw out like pepper spice or like peppercorns or some of those things. But I think it's foolish to say that wheated whiskeys can't be spicy and can't bite.
Sure.
So this one's got this really well balanced spice, but just a lot of dense sweetness. It's like really layered. It's got like cream filled donut. It's got a little bit of berry. It's still got that cinnamon. It's got oak in a real perfect way. Like it's definitely present, but it's not like the 12 or anything.
Sure. What are your thoughts on 12? Because I gave some thoughts on 12. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
12 to me is a little on the oaky side. There are times when I like it, and there's times where I don't. If you were to give me Weller 12 above 100 proof, I'd be about it, you know. But at that point, it's like, why would they give you something that has better specs than the Van Winkle Lot B?
Sure.
Right. So the Van Winkle Lot B is 3.4 proof points higher than Weller 12. It's a 90. I think it's 93.4 or something silly like that. I will say that 100% of the time that I've blinded Lot B with Weller 12 is 1.
Get out.
So it's not super great to me.
Yeah, I told Nation I'm not a Weller 12 fan. What did I do? I had a bottle of Weller 12, and I recently traded it, and I forgot what I traded it for. It was a good trade. Here's what I traded it for: a Baumburgers and a Four Roses pick.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm not done with what I was drinking, but you've not done any bottle chugs on your channel. Are you opposed to the bottle chug?
Yes. I mean, I'm not here to judge. So here's the thing. I will take a pull from a bottle, particularly like if I'm down at my bar.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking a pull. It's fine. I'll use this big glass.
Yeah, no, taking a pull is fine. Taking a chug, like there's a big difference. And I'll go on a rant here for a minute. And I'll restrain myself. Okay. So there is a movement on Instagram right now that is, earn your bourbon. And it's about being fit and be fit and then enjoy bourbon. Totally down with both of those things. What I'm not down with is when it's like, okay, let's be fit as an excuse to overdrink. And so like what accompanies this earn your bourbon movement is some chugs that are pretty massive. And it's like, guys, like, okay, there's a balance to be had. The message of earn your bourbon is, again, be fit. Enjoy your bourbon. Totally down with. Enjoy your whiskey. Yeah. Enjoy your whiskey. Like, you do you, dog. But it's like, I'm just not for something that promotes flippant consumption of whiskey. Like, that's why I made that video on Monday. Is like, there is a danger in drinking whiskey of like, well, a lot of things. Dependency is one, being unhealthy is one, wrecking your life and other people's lives is one. And so I just don't want to be flippant about it. Like, just be careful. That's all I'm saying. And so like, is it bad to take a pull from a bottle? No. Is it bad to drink, a decent amount? No, it's not. That said, like, to be overly cavalier and not be mindful of the fact that this could be a problem, and for many people it is a problem, and we're just goofing around with it. Like, that's just where I'd be like, okay, let's just take a break. Just calm down. That's it.
All right. Well, I'm a Kentucky boy, so we still chug. But I appreciate everything you said. I will pull from now on and not chug, at least on record. All right, I'm gonna go through here real quick. Brian Pulver, cheers, sir. How are you? Matt, what's up? You're still in the chat. What's up, Matt?
Yeah, even after I've never seen Matt do a bottle chug. He may be a bottle chugger, but I've never seen it happen. So
Matt, I'm still working through the live with it's not live anymore, obviously, with Sam, but you were doing killer so far. I see a comment from Eric Sawyer about Shelfer 107. Yes, I'll call it Shelfer. I know it's hard to find on the shelf. It's impossible to find on the shelf. It's just easier than saying non-pick. Anyway, this 12, the 12, and it could be that my bottle's been sitting half for a while. It's got the kind of perfuminess on the nose that, like, if you were to have thrown it in a lineup with some of the dusty stuff that we had talked about before, I'd be like, huh, that's welcome. It's like dusty oak mixed with like cherry cough syrup. Not as terrible as some things come off like medicinal cherry cough syrup, but also like not awesome. And then it's just too soft on the palate. It's like it's oaky in like a raw green wood sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't love that. Can't love that.
Can't do it. Matt was saying, can't do it.
Wing Nation.
Matt was saying he's not a big fan of Baumburgers, dude. Okay, well, I mean, teach their own. Matt is the world's greatest whiskey taster, so I mean, the dude has a trustworthy palate.
Yeah, I mean, what up, Drew? Take that
in your face. That's fine. I mean, I've trained my palate, and preferences vary.
You know, Drew, with us loving Discovery 4, maybe if we're lucky, we'll be able to try some of Matt's Discovery 5. Maybe down the line. Archie, what's up? What's up, Archie? Man, I just want to catch up with some of these
Eric.
cats.
Yeah, it's fine. We got to get it. We got to talk about our latest pod, though. You really jumped on a good time to talk about that. Eric says that Blown Tire has Brian talking real fast tonight.
That and my just general being from Louisville. I am a fast talker. I'm a fast talker. I'm a fast walker. I'm a fast stalker.
What?
Nothing.
I mean, that's not okay. All right, let's talk about this pod. We dropped one today.
We did
episode number 3, official episode number 3, and we were talking with Josh Devitt from Willet Distillery. Which, if you guys ever wanted a behind the scenes perspective on what happens on a barrel pick at Willet, then check out this podcast. What do you feel like was the most interesting content we got into? Which there's a lot in that podcast. It's long, but it's good. But what was most interesting to you, Brian, from that interview?
I just appreciate some down to earthness, which I feel like just kind of emanates throughout most of the talk. And then again, you and I kind of back and forth about it. I love our discussion. I love the questions back and forth to kind of get to know him and his journey and where the things he's done for Willet. But I still feel like some of the better conversation comes out while we're in the tasting and we start talking about, like, I don't know, what people would look for or what they think they want when they go into picks. Right. And we didn't exactly tease it fully apart, but it's not stuff we haven't talked about before. What people, it's basically the terms of like what people look for when they have the opportunity to get a bottle of whiskey. It's like label, brand, like proof, age being a killer one. I mean, you and I talk about it still in a positive way, like when it comes to Four Roses.
Sure.
So, you know, and I just appreciate hearing somebody who tastes it a lot. He didn't really put us up to a bet on it, but I mean, it is interesting. I don't think about it when it comes, even with Willet, I'm like, oh man, no, like 7 and 8 years old, they're going to be better than the 5 years. But this dude, he tastes them in and out, and I bet that he would just sit back and kind of chuckle if he were to lay out a flight of mixed years and say, all right, give you $100 if you can figure out which one's which.
Sure. Well, ish. I mean, and we're talking about 5 to 8 years. We're not talking about 6 to 12 years. So it's like, yeah, the differences in age are going to be harder to discern when you're talking about a 2 to 3 year age gap versus a 6 year age gap.
Okay, so I get that.
Yeah, I know you agree with me.
but in the same breath, I also would say that 4-year-old and 5-year-old whiskey, for the most part, is too young to put out. But if someone from a distillery would say it will have subtle changes, but even at 7 and 8 years, it's going to have the same profile. Like, who am I to say that it's like, I would much rather you all wait until you're at 7 or 8 years. Sure. It's a much more respectable age.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it actually is not that different.
It's going to vary from barrel to barrel, though. Like, obviously, when we're talking about the Willet family estate barrel picks, like, that we're probably going to be able to taste some of their best stuff. Yeah. So it's like, is it a blend of 5 year versus a blend of 8 years? Or are we talking about the cream of the crop from barrels that are 5 year versus the cream of the crop barrels that are 8 year? And of course, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on distilleries releasing younger whiskey, because I get that craft whiskey or craft distillers have to make money, and that's tough. Like, you gotta get some cash flow in there. Odds are generally, though, that if they did wait until 8 years, it would be better than if they released it at 4 years. Like, that is just like, and all of my tasting of whiskeys closer to 8 years taste better on average than whiskeys released at 4 years. Again, not hating on people who release 4-year-old whiskey. I've been having some really solid 4-year-old whiskeys in this craft whiskey journey. That said, it ain't an 8-year-old whiskey, and I really want to taste it at 8 years because I think that it would be truly amazing. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I don't know. I appreciated the conversation. I'm just going back to your initial question that you asked. I appreciate a lot about that, just hearing his journey in that. I found it interesting, spoiler, to see that like his growth happened in such a short period of time.
Yeah. I mean, time. What I will say is sort of age in a person, like their time in the industry, doesn't necessarily indicate their quality in the industry. And it's that way with pretty much any job. Like, just because you've worked in such and such industry for so long doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great at what you do. Hopefully that experience has paid off, but hopefully you're a critical thinker. Hopefully you're somebody who never stops learning and is constantly like trying to improve in your craft. But just because you've done a job for a long time doesn't mean you have all those other qualities. So yeah, I mean, Josh is clearly, he's a hustler in a good way. Like, he hustles. That's what I mean. So yeah, check out that pod, y'all. Entryproofpodcast.com. You can also find it on Spotify. I think Stitcher. Are we on Stitcher?
Yeah, I think it's on Stitcher. The one that I've still yet to get confirmation on is Google. And I think I mentioned that last time too. I had checked and the show exists there, but in terms of having a link that I can link back to on the site, I've yet to find. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But I did get the Patreon stuff up on the website too. So I think it's just at the top. I didn't throw it everywhere, but all of the links that pertain to us presently should be at entryproofpodcast.com.
Cool. We're also on Apple Podcasts. But yeah, and we did record 15 minutes of nonsense. That was quite fun. But that will be up for our Patreon community here whenever Brian gets it up. No rush, but so if you guys are looking for some behind the scenes / bonus content, you're welcome to join the Patreon community. There's a link in our show notes.
Plus, I got my first email back about what I was talking to you about earlier today. And I'm going to have a follow-up email tomorrow and should follow up with you, hopefully maybe with some dates tomorrow. So that's coming along.
Yeah. Well, why don't you tell the people? Because it looks like this is happening. So let's give some information about where the entry proof collaboration is headed. Because for Patreon community, I mentioned that we might be able to do some other cool stuff, and we are gaining traction on said cool stuff. Brian has been instrumental in bringing this about for Meat Nation.
So I didn't get a chance really to talk about, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw some pictures. But this past Sunday, I met up with Christian Huber at Starlight. So when I talked to you guys about doing that Ezra Brooks pick that I was not able to taste on. I had missed doing a Starlight pick with Blake and the Bourboner crew, the Sealbox crew that day to go to Lux Row. So bummer that way. But I think I made some comment on a post and Christian said, "Hey, why don't you come out and try the new lots of whiskey,
lots of coffee."
New lots of coffee. The new lots of whiskey. And so I joined him out there on Sunday. I was able to taste the picks that Bourboner picked, as well as a whole slew of other stuff. And so I just shot him a message after, because I know that you and I have been talking about it. And I was like, hey, there were a couple of barrels that I really liked. I would like to get Drew to try these barrels. Should they still be around? Can I get a pick set up for entry proof? And partially the reason I wanted to do that is because in order to get bottles into Nation's hands in a legal way, we would have to sell them somewhere. And Blake, via Sealbox, would be working with us. I should say we would be working with him. He's the bigger entity here in order to do that. And since they just picked some barrels up, if there's a possibility for us to get in quicker on a pick by chance, it would not only be good for Drew's schedule, but we could probably just hop some of those bottles along on the way and have it sooner rather than later for being available to Nation. And again, we don't really have those tiers set up yet, but ideally those who are highest up on the Patreon would have first shot at acquiring these picks. I will say there were a couple really interesting ones that I tried. And I'm sure we would try even more. That's what I would want to talk to you about after the show. I'm still going to say it right here, but I think going through like some preferences or things we might be interested in.
Yep.
We'll need to get that back to them. I won't spoil some of the cool ones that I did try though.
Yeah. So
I mean that is as far as I can tell, while not set up on a date, is 98% happening. Like going to be
looks
available.
like entry proof.
I'm lining up the tee, as they would say in the golf world. Is that what they say?
No, you're teeing up the ball.
I'm teeing up the ball.
About to hit bombs.
No handicap.
Yeah.
No handicap. About to bomb it.
You're talking gibberish right now. Anyway, so the point, Nation, is that for our Patreon community, that was kind of slurred. Patreon community. And if you're not a Patreon member but you still want an entry proof pick, after Nation has had a shot to buy barrels, then we may introduce them to the rest of the squad. But yeah, if you for sure want to be able to get access to future entry proof picks, Patreon community is the way to do that. But yeah, really stoked to be able to connect with Blake over at Sealbox and Bourboner and have that be our retail outlet to be able to get entry proof whiskey into your hands. I mean, things are moving fast, squad, and it's exciting for sure. Tom Lynch says, might be in both your interests to stay away from sports analogies. Well, neither one of us is what you would generally consider to be a classic athlete. But
how dare you? I was on my eighth grade C team basketball.
Nailed it.
So,
yeah. I mean, I played volleyball, co-ed. Yeah. And I play golf, which, I mean, we all know real athletes play golf. So.
Yeah. What about Neat Nation? Do you all froth? How many of the Neat Nation froth?
Like frisbee golf? Yeah, I've chucked some discs. I've
some discs? I don't think they call it that.
Yeah, frizz disc. Yeah, no, frisbee golf is awesome.
That either.
They call it disc golf. That's the official terminology.
Yeah.
So Discraft, Innova being the big brands in that area. I'm sure there are others, but those are the ones that I played. I used to play a lot.
What do you got in your bag?
So my favorite driver is the Orc. I have an Innova. What is? I'm forgetting the plastics. It's been a while since I played, but yeah, the Orc really works well with my. Yeah, it's a Champion Orc. That's correct. I have a T-Bird. So I have the Star T-Bird. Really like that for straight, playing in the woods. I have a Thunderbird that I use for the tomahawk throw. Okay. I'm sure people are like, really, guys? We have Swing Nation and then we have Disc Nation. We're just creating all kinds of side channels here. Yeah.
So many nations, pretty soon it'll be a risk game.
That's a good idea. Risk Nation. Game Nation. Oh, man. Yeah.
Sorry, Tom. I'll stop. No more golf talk.
Cameron says nothing grinds my gears more than when frisbee golfers call golf ball golf. I respect this golf, but golf is golf.
I've never heard that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's good though. Liberty Not Licensed says the Mordor is the driver because that's where the ball goes from the box. Yeah, I lost it. Eric Sawyer, real question. What's in the real golf bag? Okay. Let's get into it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been looking to upgrade, but I actually like the clubs that I have. They work for me. I play a Cobra F9 driver, 10 degrees, and then a hybrid. So I have a Cobra F6 3-wood, and then the Cobra F9 hybrid, 21 degrees. And then I have Nike irons, Nike Vapor Speed irons, very forgiving. I enjoy those. Like I thought about upgrading those, but they're nice. I gave them a little bit of a paint job overhaul. You can check that out on my Instagram. Just go back to a post from like June. And then I've got Cleveland RTX wedges, and then an Odyssey mallet putter. So
all right, we're gonna have a new Droopy Whiskey Neat Nation drinking game. Whenever Drew mentions golf, everyone everyone drinks. I won't say takes a shot because of your video on Monday. Yeah. Everyone bottle chugs.
I mean, I'm taking a shot. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to. I mentioned in the video, I'm not trying to be a buzzkill. I just feel like
I'm starting to get the impression that you have never drank before.
I just felt like if you're gonna be responsible, if you're gonna promote whiskey, like if that's your whole deal, if we're gonna have a YouTube channel and a podcast promoting whiskey and alcohol consumption, we might as well own that it could be dangerous. I feel like.
Have you had Weller Foolproof?
I have not. I mentioned that to the squad earlier.
I'm going to fix that for you.
Okay, that sounds good. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, we're talking about 125 proof, which to me that's hot. So it's got to be a good whiskey to hold up.
What? It's 114.
Oh, because I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, squad. Because that makes sense. Their entry proof for the wheated is 114, not 125.
Yeah. So so I will go on record and say that I think the body and flavor is definitely oomphed. It's definitely enhanced, and I like that. That said, I personally think I would always take a great OWA pick over the best Weller Foolproof pick I've had. I think I've had a lot of pretty good, or like maybe a couple of like really nice foolproofs, but I've never had what I would say is a great foolproof, and there are some great OWAs. This one that I have right now open is pretty nice. It's a little different, a little off profile.
Sweet. Dang. Cameron says it's Titleist and Scotty Cameron or nothing. Cameron, what do you do for a living, man? I've got 2 kids with one on the way. I bought my irons from a guy for a couple $100, I think. My driver, I got it used.
Cheers, Nation. He's talking about it again.
Yeah. Drink. Well, Cameron asked me, well, he made a statement. He didn't ask me a question. Eric says Nike golf equipment is like a Dusty. I know, right? And you should check out the dang paint job I did on my Vapor Speeds. Rad. Tim Evans says, always talk about your interests. Golf and whiskey go together very well. I agree. And so one thing I thought about doing. No. I'm not a cigar smoker, but I mentioned to Nation before that it's about controlling the vices. Like I can only have so many. Because I'm obsessive. And so if I'm obsessive about whiskey, I already have to battle that enough. Then if I'm smoking on top of that, I'll just die.
All right. We'll see when you come in town next.
I would have a cigar. Like I'm totally down to have cigars.
When you come in next, we'll play some.
Go ahead. Sorry.
We'll play some ball golf. We'll have some burbs.
Yeah.
We'll light a spliff or whatever they call it. It's not a spliff. We'll have a cigar.
Stogie.
We'll cut some Cubans. Then maybe we'll toss some golf and then we'll do a pick.
Yeah,
we'll pick
that sounds
Nation.
like the best weekend ever.
And then we'll play Risk at night.
Yeah, well, you had me until then. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay on games. If you can be sociable and play the game, like you can with Risk, you can talk and have a good time.
No, I wouldn't want to play Risk. There are a lot better games than Risk.
I do not like games where you cannot interact. Like, to me, if you're having a good time, you're drinking whiskey, you're with friends and family, and you're just having great conversation, I just want to be in that. Like, I want to be in that conversation, invested in the relationship. Nothing is worse. My wife and I share this perspective. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. No problem. We can still be friends. But we'll be like having dinner with, another couple, and we're in that conversation. We're having a great time. And then they're like, so do you guys want to play a game? And I'm like, no, I do not. Like, this is amazing what we have right now. And you want to interject something to disrupt that. So what you're telling me by offering me to play a game is that you actually don't care about what we're talking about. You don't care about this relationship. Obviously, that's not what they're saying. But it's just like, oh, well, we were having a great time, and now I have to learn to play a game. Like, you have to teach me for 2 hours how to play this game, and then I'm going to lose, and I hate losing. So like, this is just not setting me up to have a wonderful time.
That's why I like team games, co-op games, if you will.
As long as the learning cycle is quick, if it's swift, like, okay, you can teach me in 10 minutes and then we can start playing. I'm down with that.
I got you. Yeah, I got you.
All right. And I know you know games, so I'm sure you.
I don't remember who mentioned it last week, but someone gave me crap about wearing the same hat every time. I wore a different hat for Nation, and no one's commenting on it. So,
well, no one can see what it is. It's a green hat.
It's a stupid Rebel Yell hat or something. It's from Lux Row. They gave it to me for not consuming alcohol. So,
but you got that dank sweater too. So
I did get the dank sweater, but I also got this okay hat. I say it's an okay hat, yet I've worn it every day since I got it. So,
yeah, no, I mean, it looks like it's got a good fit. I think that Nation has just gotten used to my.
Whoa. Are your lights that bright that you had to put your sunglasses on?
Dude, I kind of have a headache right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I had a headache while I was waiting for someone to fix my tire, but it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think I didn't drink enough water today, and I had too much caffeine. And I had a 10-hour work day.
You got to hydrate or dihydrate.
I know.
Told me.
But yeah, I'm hanging in there, and I've got my water here, so I'm just trying not to drink so much that I have to pee. Of course, I could do that. I could leave Nation with you, but I didn't know if you were gonna make it. So then I was pacing myself because, like, all right, Nation, give me 2 minutes here. I'm gonna go squeeze one.
Yeah, I didn't know I was gonna be here, and unfortunately for Nation, I am. But I'm here.
This is fortunate. Like, we have sustained 120 viewers. We got up, but we've sustained this, and it would have been very hard for me to keep talking And I'm a pretty good talker, I think. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you put the sunglasses on. I'm surprised you haven't gotten to the point where you're just doing it imitations of people.
Yeah, I enjoy imitations. Like, I would say comedy and yeah, like.
Yeah, what's your favorite imitation to do?
Oh, dude, yeah, I mean, I can do Fred Minnick.
Do it.
Okay, hold on.
I was gonna say I would assume the headband will go around your neck.
Yeah.
Oh, no, just down.
Yeah, I gotta change the hair too a little bit. Like his hair kind of goes back and is greasy, but I can't do that with my hair. So
I won't lie. I mean, I appreciate Fred Minnick, but I did take a screenshot from one of the most recent videos, and I could have sworn he was dead. Like he just physically looked dead. When you were talking the other day, I mean, just like a bit of a truth moment. When you're talking about like needing to rest, like that's a good memo for me too, because I don't rest that much, and I'm like, I don't know if this guy rests, but he also might have the different motto. He might be like, no, man, you just grind on grinding. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's one way. I think that you can grind harder and longer if you rest. So anyway, let me be very clear, Fred, if you watch this, I also have a lot of respect for you. You were the first, Fred.
100%.
You are a trailblazer. We all have our things. People could do many impressions of me, no doubt. And so that's it. That's my preface. Okay. If you guys listen to Bourbon Pursuit podcast, then it's gonna make sense. Hey everyone, my name's Fred Minnick, and this is Above the Char. I was drinking bourbon the other day, and I was enjoying it. Man, it tastes so good. The caramels, the vanilla, and the brown sugar. Dang it, I just love it so much. I was thinking some people don't like bourbon, and that makes me sad, because this is America, and we drink bourbon here. That's what I got.
I won't lie. When it first started, I thought you were Fred, and I was taken aback a little bit.
I mean, it helps that I am predisposed to a nasally tonality. He also has a nasally tonality, so
okay,
we probably have a common ancestor. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yeah. Now that we've lost everybody, what should we talk about now?
I think we lost 5 viewers. No, 7 viewers now in the midst of all that. But the ones who like Fred, like they're with us. They are there. Whiskey Wiggle says, I thought Drew was doing an impression of Jim McMahon of the '84 Chicago Bears all night. So, I mean, I was born in '89, so actually, I'm just gonna Google Jim McMahon now. Are there any other?
He's like a hipster Terminator. He's like a Terminator movie coming out in 2022.
Yeah. Hipster Terminator. The metrosexual Arnold Schwarzenegger. A lot thinner. And by thinner, I mean less buff. That's what I mean. That dude, he's been jacked his whole life. I wish I could build muscle like that. I'm sure if I ate what he ate. I just Googled 88 McMahon and not liking what I'm seeing here.
I thought it was 85, not 88 or 84.
No. So I Googled McMahon 84, but I'm on the McMahon Wikipedia page. I mean, the dude won a Super Bowl. He's got way more money than me, so he's onto something. No judgment here. All right. We talked about Weller. We talked about the new podcast, which you guys should definitely check out. Brian, were you familiar with Scotch Trooper? We talked about that earlier too. Did you hear that?
Nope. I've been seeing a lot about him today.
Yeah, he passed away. Real sad. So we talked about that too. I had mentioned that any super chats were going to go. He's got a benefit bottle on. I put it in the show notes. I forget whatever that website is. Oh, Love Scotch. So I said any contributions via super chat would go toward purchasing said bottle. Of course, we will bottle pop that for Nation. Yeah, so that's what we went through tonight. Craft whiskeys. Shall we do that? Shall we craft it up? Any other topic?
While you're getting this. No, Lava Man said this Terminator is powered by kombucha. That's right.
Yeah, no, dude, kombucha is awesome. Yeah, so that we did also talk about where does the Droopy Whiskey channel fit in the Whiskey Tube verse. It's for whiskey lovers, whiskey drinkers and lovers who also like kombucha. Like that is a niche market. Like unfortunately, there is not.
I cannot name you a single person I know who drinks kombucha.
Dude, I mean it's good. I like it, and I get again that it's not for everybody, and I get that.
We serve it in the cafe. I just couldn't tell you anyone who drinks it.
Okay, it's got probiotics, man. Helps you poop.
Do you also like cold brew?
Do I like? I get in a mood for cold brew. I don't drink a lot of cold brew.
Yeah, you take me as a cold brew kind of guy, like right
actually
now.
Not. No, I'm more of a filter coffee. Give it to me hot and black.
If you had AirPods in right now, you would definitely look like a cold brew drinker.
Yeah. So I mean, AirPods would be convenient, but they're so expensive, and I'd lose them. So
I got these Impals.
All right, you like those? Are they good?
Yeah, I mean the audio on like a call end is pretty trash. Last week I was doing some video checks for video synced with audio, and I took the audio from here, and it was garbage. But the sound is pretty good for the cost, but maybe I'm just cheap. So it's also that.
Cameron says, I need your Uggs, your jumper, and your Prius. So I don't own a jumper, but I own joggers. I enjoy wearing joggers.
The tire of my Prius did blow out tonight. So
yeah, I would buy a Prius, no doubt. I would not wear Uggs. That is where I would draw the line. So I blend my blends with kombucha. That would be a pretty dang shirt, guys. John White says, Fred is great, but Ralphie is the first. John, you are correct, but Ralphie's mainly Scotch. So, I mean, Ralphie was the first whiskey tuber, no doubt. Like, yeah. But yeah, Fred was the bourbon proponent. And of course, he was preceded by, guys like Chuck Cowdery. But I mean, Fred really took it. I mean, he was the, I mentioned trailblazer. Yeah, I don't have a better term than that right now. Okay, throw out any conversation topic. Seems like we're going to be here a while. We've been here an hour and a half already. If you have to jump off, no problem. Not an issue. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I have been through, as I mentioned, 20 craft whiskeys so far in 2021, and I have 5 here. I think we're probably going to do 3. Let's do 3 tonight.
So, just a quick question. Are you only including as craft whiskeys the ones that you try on the show?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the reason I say that is I technically those family estates you tried are craft whiskeys, right? Isn't Willet a craft distillery on the
maybe
craft bourbon trail?
You can make that contention, but I'm not going to, just for the sake of not. We'll see. If I get to 97 and I get stuck, then I'll say, yeah, no, Willie.
We did it.
Yeah. All right. But I do have a Starlight pick here. So tonight we've got Starlight out of Indiana. So this is Starlight single barrel, Huber's store pick. 116.2 proof, 4.5 years old. So I've not had Starlight.
Are there any other specs on there, or what store pick it is or anything?
No. What's Huber's?
So Huber's is the winery or the farm where Starlight is in Starlight, Indiana.
Got it.
So it's about 30 minutes away from us in Louisville, and I didn't even know they did whiskey. I just knew that that's where we've gone for years, like for pumpkin patches, for apple orchard stuff, places we could take the kids. They do fried biscuits and apple butter. They've got a family restaurant.
Let's go.
But they do whiskey, so they have a background in wine. And not to spoil it for you, but Starlight, these guys are, everyone's talking about them now, and they're still relatively new, but they are nerds in a positive way.
Yeah, I mean, I drink kombucha.
Again, they have their grounding in viticulture, so it's not like this is the way we always do whiskey. It's like, it's pure and it's this. These guys are like, we have Kelvin barrels, we have Icon barrels, we have Canton barrels. We do a toast level 2. We did a char level 3. We did char level 3, but we toasted the heads. We did a char level 2, but we did burnt heads. We did one burnt head, and we did one that went to McDonald's on Tuesday. Like, they just mix a ton of stuff, and every barrel is unique. And they're doing finishing things. They're doing 3 grain. They're doing 4 grain. They're doing a bunch of stuff. And so the problem with that is that it's you never know what group, like what a group picked, unless you get it and try it, or you trust whoever picked it, because they have so many like one-off barrels.
Got it.
Which is kind of cool. And they are a talkative bunch, and I talk a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. If you think they're talkative, good Lord. All right. So if we do Starlight pick, which it looks like we're going to, we will try and provide specifications with our sticker. And we'll keep the sticker subtle, guys. I mean, good grief. The sticker game these days, unbelievable. All right. So one of the other specimen bottles I have is Starlight 92 proof, 4-year-old small batch. So non-single barrel and then single barrel. We'll start with the non-single barrel, which smells grainy, which makes me nervous. But to be fair, I had a craft whiskey brand, which is MGP sourced, that smelled quite grainy, but it was so sweet on the palate. Like it was good. I enjoyed it. It smelled grainy, but it had some balance to it. So hoping for that out of this. But I'm having a hard time getting past it right now. It's not sharp. So while there is the fresh baked bread note, it's not like swimming pool and fresh baked bread. Like what in our live stream last week, I tasted one that was just awful. I forget what it was though. You remember what that was?
No.
Oh, it was Garrison Brothers. That's what it was. That was atrocious. It's gonna be hard for me to go back to any kind of Garrison Brothers after that. All right. Small batch 4-year-old Starlight. You can only smell it for so long. This is sweet too. It's like a whole wheat bread with kind of some butter. It's pretty creamy. Not very spicy at all. Like I want some spiced up kind of cut through that bready use. I think as it ages and it gets past that grainy breadiness, it's going to be okay because it's got this heavy sweetness to it. That said, I'm not really feeling the small batch, but let's hit it up with a single barrel. Let's see what we got. Let's see what the cream is when they get those honey barrels. I can't smell anything right now. I just got COVID in the last 20 seconds.
Oh gosh. John White did a Starlight pick, double oak. Tell me more about it, John. Do you know anything else about it?
All right. Nose on this is much better. More rich. No grain at all. A little bit of I'm getting rye. Is this a ride? Do they do rye? Ride bourbon?
They do rye, they do bourbon, they do.
No, I mean, is it a ride bourbon? Because this doesn't say if it's rye base or wheat. It doesn't smell wheated.
I'm assuming it's going to be rye based, and their rye is. I feel like they have a pretty noticeable flavor. We'll see if you pick it out.
Liberty Not Licensed says, I don't know about Fred, but ADHD told me he's a pretty awesome guy, so I know it's true. Now I'm a fan. Yeah, I'd like to meet Fred, actually. I have a lot of questions I would ask him. It'd be wonderful to have him on the Entry Proof podcast at some point. So
Yeah, for sure.
I met him at my impression. Go ahead.
No, I think he would find it hilarious. I met him at the lineup reveal for what's his music festival? Hometown Rising last year, which didn't end up happening. But
no, that's not it. That's a different one. You're thinking of Bourbon and Beyond.
That's but it wasn't Bourbon and Beyond. It was one of the three.
I know he does stuff with festivals, but his is Bourbon and Beyond. Hometown Rising, I think he was doing some curation for, but
yeah, I think he did the lineup announcement for Hometown Risings, which was one of the parts of the trifesta, the three festivals that happened back to back. I think it was Hometown Rising.
Okay.
What do you think? Did you just dive into that palette?
Dude, it was amazing, actually. Like night and day. So let me take it apart here. But yeah. So the nose was dramatically better. And you wouldn't think it was 4.5 years old. You know, I'm thinking 6 to 8. The spiciness comes through, the extra proof helps like bring balance, maybe a tiny suggestion of grain, but it's almost all gone. And I'll tell you what's kind of interesting flavors here that rye is coming through, but I get caramel, a little black pepper, just really, really solid. It if I was going to make an allusion to another brand, I would say some of these Remus picks, you know, the MGP high proof 6-year-old picks, that's kind of what this reminds me of. Which this pick from Timers and Racine of Remus is really phenomenal.
Wherever you got
really enjoy this right now.
Wherever you got that sample from, try and find out more information about
Fred. My boy Fred, not Fred Minnick, but Fred from really I forget Fred's last name, but a good guy. He sent me a few things. So
yeah, you just check with Fred and you try and figure out what I want to look more about what it is, recipe wise or whatever.
Yeah, normally we have Fred up in the chat. I think he must be busy tonight, but he's a regular. I mean, he gives Tom a run for his money in terms of
what's
Neat Nation stalwarts.
Another thing that's neat in regards to Starlight is that so Ted is the dad, Ted Huber, and there's two sons. There's Christian Huber and there's Blake. Now, dude, Blake and Christian, when they were first putting whiskey in barrels, they were in high school, dude. When they're distilling and they all cut whiskey differently at different spots. And so you'll see on the barrel, it's like signed by either Ted Huber or T Huber or C Huber or B Huber. And they each have their own kind of style. Like Ted is more like older Four Roses. I feel like, I mean, I'm probably making generalization that isn't true across their whole portfolio. But I feel like Ted would be more of the like, this is how whiskey is. It's bold. It's spicy. Like it hits you. I feel like Blake is a little bit, he would be like your OESO Four Roses drinker. Delicacy, nice fruits, even some florals if they're in there. And then Christian has like complexity, just maybe a couple more dimensions, but you kind of tease stuff out. It's interesting. I mean, they all do interesting things.
Yeah, man, this pick is so good. So I set one whiskey aside for my best of tasting. This is going to go next to it because it is really like I'm jacked for our pick if we can get something like this because this is
that's why I want to know because it would help us know if it's a 3 grain, it's a 4 grain.
Like I don't care. Like if we get a chance to go out there and pick and they've got stuff related to this, let's just taste their whole lineup. And
you're gonna have a good time.
Oh, I'm gonna have a good time. No doubt. All right, so that's great. I'm gonna drink a little more of that. I was bummed out by their small batch though. Gosh, yeah, it's that grainy bready note that's so hard to just like taste past, and it's just a byproduct of youth. Like young whiskey tastes like that. White Dog tastes like bread. Corn, raw corn and bread.
Right.
So it's like when you taste it in a whiskey, you're just tasting youth, which is why 4-year-old whiskey can be rough. And 4-year-old single barrel, some barrels age quickly. So it's like, nah, a 4-year-old can be great and get past that. But if you got a blend, a batch, then odds are pretty good you're going to get a decent amount of that bready graininess. So yeah, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier with age.
Right.
Yeah, still not feeling that one. I'd like to, because one of the goals of this was be able to promote craft distilleries that were crushing it. Starlight clearly has mojo. Like there's some crushery happening at Starlight. But then there's some young whiskey that needs a little more time in the barrel. That's it. Give me some barrel time. Okay. Time to hydrate. And then
Whiskey Wiggle, Fred Minnick is upstanding gentleman, sent him a DM for a virtual toast for a friend's 50th and accessible. I think he's also on, what's that platform? Cameo?
Yep.
I think he's on Cameo.
Yep.
You could just holler at him on Cameo. He'll come in and like.
Well, you pay him on Cameo, but that's fine. No judgment there. I mean, especially if you're a content creator, which that's Fred's deal. He creates content. He owns a podcast. He owns a magazine. So yeah, if people want you to shout out your bro and are going to slide you a 50, that's great. Okay, so the last one I have is Bower Hill. And so I had crapped on Bower Hill because I heard it was awful. And Fred said, I had a store pick and, it wasn't bad. So this is a store pick, but it's 86 proof. So non-age stated Bower Hill store pick. And I'm curious. I'm really curious. So I'm going to taste this in a hot second. Have you had Bower Hill, Brian?
I have not.
Okay. Trying to keep my dishes down. After last week, I had like 8 Glencairns that I needed to clean.
There.
Oh my goodness. Okay, interesting. On the nose, first thing I got was rubber.
Sick.
That's exactly what I want to smell. Liberty not licensed. Who is this year's designated driver for Drew's 100 craft distills? Well, I'm not tasting 100, dude. In an evening, that would be a trip.
But you could if we got a stretch limo, dude.
I mean, yeah, right after we win the Super Bowl. Speaking of which, did anybody watch the Super Bowl? I did not. Dude, so the nose on this is it is automotive. It's like fresh tires and exhaust.
Oof.
Yeah, no grain. But Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch are laying down some sick raps up in here. Not really. It is unique. I have not smelled a nose like this in a whiskey before. And it's not good. There was something else I got, but I can't place it yet. So I smell myself sometimes, squad, to just cleanse that, like reset. Coffee is another good thing to smell to reset your nose. That's why if you're like at Nordstrom, they'll have a little cup of coffee beans for you to whiff. If you're like smelling colognes and perfumes, you're smelling one, they're like, all right, here, smell this coffee, and now smell another perfume. So if we're sniffing coffees, though, we might smell something else. Maybe we'd smell perfume to reset if we were smelling coffees.
I still can't believe that you're wearing the glasses still.
I mean, it's really bright. I'm going to have to keep working on the lighting situation here. Yeah. But maybe I'm making a character, too, between the headbands. And maybe not. I mean, maybe I can get away with it on a live stream where it's nation and they like, oh, yeah, these are our people. If I was doing a, what's the deal with barrel bourbon video, I might get a lot more flack for it from the folks who view.
Yeah, those. I feel like you also like just finished a couple of White Russians and took your robe off.
The dude.
That's right.
Come on, man. I can do some dude impressions. Jeff Bridges. We'll get there. Fingernail polish remover too. There's nothing good about this nose. Oh gosh.
Dive on into the palate. Let's do it.
I don't want to put it in my body. I'm not in a rush to ingest this.
That's a great question, Eric Sawyer. Is a more blurry Drew better than a sunglasses Drew? Leave your all's comments below. Would you rather have a blurrier Drew or sunglasses Drew?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not mutually exclusive. It's not an either or, but yeah, I mean, I'm fine with getting feedback here. Whatever, I want it to be interesting.
Maybe we should get you some of those shades that are like they're the colored circles, but they flip up.
So like Morpheus?
I guess, yeah, but he doesn't have the ones that flip up, right? They're just static colors.
All right, so I will taste this. I'm probably not going to taste very much of it, but who knows? Maybe I will be blown away. I doubt it because the nose are the eyes of the mouth. Gosh, man, it tastes like it smells. I mean, it's got some sweetness in there, but it tastes like something went wrong. So here's the deal with the craft whiskeys. The bready, grainy it's like, okay, there's some, I've tasted this before. I've tasted Buffalo Trace White Dog. Like, it will get better. Man, it's drying. Dude. So here's another thing I should do is I should save the worst, because I mean, Fred sent this to me like, hey, you might like, no, sorry, Fred. I don't, man.
Which one was this? What, does it have the proof or anything?
Yeah. So it's a single barrel pick, or it's a store pick. I don't know if it's single barrel, but it's 86 proof Bower Hill barrel reserve, and like reserved for the pits of hell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it smells grotesque. It's just bad. And so like I hope Bower Hill is not like this family who's like trying to get by and they're scraping it together.
No, but we actually did just get an email from them about wanting to be on the podcast, but now I'm gonna have to tell them sadly no because
did you really?
Attitude.
I'm sure you did not. I would tell them no too. Like I respectfully decline. I mean, that's kind of you guys. Like, I don't want to be a jag, this, but
what a jag.
Yeah.
What a jag.
I've had a few folks reach out and they're like, hey, can we sponsor a video? We will certainly have sponsored content in the future, but only vetted stuff. That's like, I'm not going to tell you guys to buy stuff that ain't good. That's just not why we started this. I'll take one more sip. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's rubber and exhaust, some chlorine, and Sharpie marker.
I wonder if something happened, like you got a tainted sample bottle or something like that. That seems pretty extreme.
I'll send it to you if you want.
No, thank you.
I would like vomit. Like it's really, really rough.
Not about it. I was trying to look up reviews on it. Is what I was trying to do.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Tom says save the bad ones. I mean, I really don't want to be like, all right, here's the top 5 worst whiskeys, but I think that would get views. Certainly get views.
Let's see. Distiller.
Yeah.
Let's go to Distiller.
Oh, you want to find out who made? I'm curious because I think they source Bower Hill. I don't think they make their own, so I'm curious about where they source from.
By the sound of it, the Ohio River.
They source from the Ohio. Oh yeah, like straight from.
What you just said.
Can you distill water from the Ohio River?
I don't know. Have you ever checked out the channel Does It Distill? So
the Rhett and Link squad of Willet PB&J or Willet Waffle. Yeah. So I enjoy Rhett and Link. They are fun. It's a very family oriented show and very entertaining. So if you have kids and you want to watch Good Mythical Morning with Rhett and Link, you should do that. It's worth it. Michael Stapleton, it would be funny to send you crap if just only to see your reaction.
Yeah, that's what I was just reading. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not above doing something just because it would be entertaining for folks. I enjoy entertaining. I enjoy karaoke. I kill at karaoke night because I can get into it. You know, I don't have a lot of shame. So what I won't do is inflict pain. I'm okay with disgust, but pain is something like disgust is something that's over as soon as you taste something. You may retch, but then it's over. Like pain is something that stays with you. So while I won't do a one chip challenge, I would taste garbage whiskeys if you really enjoyed it.
JD's up in the chat. Looks like just received the new Doc Swinson Sweet. I'm going to assume that's batch 5. Please let me know how it is. Or not batch 5, batch 10. The 5th one of them. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. JD actually sent me. So JD, amazing person, very generous person, had sent me Doc Swinson's straight rye finished in rum, which, to be fair, I did get some grain in this, but there's balance. Like the rye and the rum bring balance to this.
Alter Egos, bourbon, sherry, and cognac, and straight rye finished rum. Can't wait to try. Man, JD got the load, got the haul.
JD's overseas. He's doing the thing, so I think he's getting shipments from the States to keep him powered. Nick AG, I'd pay to see your reaction to Malort. Okay, so I used to do a coffee podcast. Brian and I both did coffee podcasts, not the same one. Mine was with Stone Creek, my company, and we tasted, I think it was Malort. It was either Malort or what's the other one? The bitter one. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was Malort. It is it's something. It's remarkable. Not my favorite, obviously.
This Bower Hill Barrel Reserve bourbon is so bad that distiller keeps giving me a 404 error when trying to view its page. It keeps saying something went horribly wrong. Whoops, something went horribly. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. This should just be the entry page for this product.
JD asked if I got the smoke wagons he sent. I did, dude. Yeah, I thought I responded to your IG message. Hopefully I did. Just conserving whiskey here. So looking forward to popping those. I think I'm going to do a what's the deal with MGP. What I like about Smoke Wagon, as well as another new brand called Off Hours, is that they're just like, hey, we got this from MGP. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thanks for your transparency. Good on you. So, yeah. There's a lot of craft distillers or blenders getting stuff from MGP. Even brand builders, like Off Hours is more of a brand builder than anything else, but I like what they're doing.
His page finally popped up, but a bunch of not very good ratings, but no one's leaving their opinion as to why. Charred oak finish. Unremarkable but smooth, missing that nice burn.
No,
mixed
absolutely.
only. I did not enjoy it.
Zero smooth.
I'm wondering if you got like a sample bottle taint or something like that, man. I feel like what you're getting is it just does not sound like something that's
I don't know, but I mean all these sample bottles that I got from my boy Fred, and I trust Fred, they are the same. So
dude, I got a sample from someone before and it straight up tasted like bleach. So
what whiskey was it?
No, it was not. I mean, it was something good. I couldn't tell you what it was. It was supposed to be like a Weller foolproof sample or a Blanton sample or like maybe a Willet sample, something. But I couldn't taste it because it tastes like bleach.
I've had some rough Willet though.
Was not the sample. Was not the sample. Okay. This distiller page keeps closing on me, man. It's that bad. I guess.
Shut down. Brian, what time is it your time? It's like 11 o'clock, right?
11 o'clock. Yep.
What time do you have to be at work tomorrow?
I usually get there at 7.
Wow. Yeah, that's earlier than I do. I'm between 7:30 and 8 normally, but I'm Central Time, so it's only 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, I'm
Although,
straight chilling. I don't get sleep because we already have 3 kids, have for 3 years. So I have forgotten what sleep is like. I have to run on caffeine and the hope of a better tomorrow. So
it's one
I
way to
am
do it.
I am straight chilling. Plus, I went to get my wife dinner and was out for like 3 hours just sitting in my car. So
Really
I am
tired.
I am glad to be here with Nation instead of in my car.
What did you get for dinner?
Rooster's chicken tenders.
That sounds good. I'm hungry right now, actually.
Yeah, it's they're relatively inexpensive. My wife really likes the teriyaki chicken, so
Yeah.
went down there, which is pretty good. It was just a straight shot down the road, so it's not like I was incredibly far away when it happened. It was just like a moderate inconvenience.
Did you hit a curb or something?
I was literally in the middle of like a 5-lane road, 6-lane road. And I don't think I hit a pothole or anything. I just felt a
Oh,
and
man.
then and so I was like, well, something exploded. And he even saw, he's like, I don't even know how you do that. Maybe your tire went into a pothole and it split the side, or maybe somehow it ran up against something sharp. I don't really know how it does that. So I'll get it looked at tomorrow, get a new tire put on or whatever have you. So I might
Okay.
actually have a delayed start tomorrow so that I could
Deal with that.
just with the weather being kind of crappy, I'd rather not be on the spare the whole time. So
Aiden Roper says, "I run on caffeine and the hope of a better tomorrow." That's the most relevant statement I've ever heard. Yeah, that would be another great T-shirt idea.
Tom saying, how bad was the snow ice in Louisville today? So yeah, to be honest, I was not Lava Man. I was not in an area where I would not rule out, where I would rule out having my tire be shot at. So yeah, not too bad. Tom, how bad was the snow ice? The snow was tolerable. It was not what you Ohioans got. The ice was like 3 layers of different rain/sleeting of ice on top of each other. So it was like an ice skating rink if a Zamboni didn't ride on it all day long. It was just rough. And most of the major roads were okay, but it was cold, and so it was bad enough that some people had power outages and canceled some schools and stuff like that. But I made it into the office and was there for a bit. Came back home. Yeah, it was pretty normal. Other than that,
That's good. We were fortunate.
my tire was even talking about
system.
Wisconsin.
What?
The guy who changed my tire was even talking about, I think he's from Wisconsin. I'm like, small world, dude. You want to join me on a podcast? He's actually right here. I just have had him off the whole time. No.
Like, what's happening? What did we do? Yeah. All right. Cool. Any other topics you want to hit before we wrap it? I mean, you said you're happy to be here with Neat Nation. I'm fading fast.
That's okay. Yeah, I can close it. I close down. I'll probably end up pouring one more before bed. That's not Weller.
Yeah, I need some teriyaki chicken based on what you were saying. Like that. That sounded quite lovely. Quite lovely. Lava Man said, "Is anyone in Fort Worth? That was crazy. My family is in Wichita Falls, which is north of Fort Worth, and I heard it got cold there. Like it actually broke, or is breaking, breaking zero, getting to negative temps, which is pretty crazy. Like that never happens there. Oh, it may be snowing now. Yeah, it says it's snowing now, but I'm in the basement and I wouldn't know that. Dang it, man. It's so cold outside. It's 9 degrees. Like the last thing I want to do is shovel snow before I go in the morning."
Mm-hmm.
Aiden says, "I'm hopping off, guys. I have to go to work. Enjoy the chat." Aiden, have a good night, man.
Cheers.
70 car pileup with 7 dead in Fort Worth. Holy balls. Oh my gosh.
It was intense. I haven't really followed up on it. I've just seen it pop up in a couple of places, so I can't speak on it too in depth.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, the roads get so bad down there. so bad when it gets icy because it never gets icy. So that, I mean, if one car spun out in a highway and then like car after car, yeah, I'm sure I can picture that. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a no we don't want to end on. Oh my word. Yeah. If people are watching the entirety of this live stream in retrospect, they're gonna be like, man, that was a roller coaster. Michael Stapleton, don't buy a Prius then. I have a Mazda CX-5. It does well in the snow and the ice, so I'm pretty happy with it. It's the family vehicle. But although we bought that and then we got pregnant with our third, so now we got to figure that out because I think a minivan's in our future. Brian, are you a minivan guy? You got a bunch of kids, right? 3, you said?
Yeah, we have a minivan.
Yeah. I don't mind a minivan. Like, I don't understand people are like, I'll never get a minivan. I'm like, well, I drink kombucha, so I really don't care that much. Like, is it pragmatic? Like, does it load a bunch of kids and a bunch of crap and get them where they need to go? All right. That's
I mean, the newer ones, like 2018 and on, they actually have a kombucha tap built in, so you're all set.
dude, yeah, that sounds great. I mean, they've really done a good job marketing these things.
Yeah. Yeah, minivan. We bought it from my sister. She was moving on to a Lexus because their kids all, went on to college. They didn't have a need for a van anymore. We bought it from my sister, so that was great.
Mhm.
It's been straight chilling. There's a TV in the back. The kids are distracted.
Let's go. Yeah.
It does its job.
Yeah. And this year, Liberty not licensed. Son told me tonight he's buying a minivan. The good life. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of trips back and forth to Texas. I mean, my wife and I said, listen, next winter, we're spending most of December and most of like March out of Wisconsin. Like, I love Wisconsin. I would not want to be anywhere else during the summer. Like, love it here. But winter is so brutal. So it's like, I'm going to take the opportunity to head south. So I need a good vehicle to get us there. I picked up this bubble wrap to pop it. Now it looks awkward because I'm squeezing it and nothing is happening. It doesn't pop. Like, what kind of bubble wrap doesn't pop?
It's making like machine noises. It's quite strange.
Well, it's just crinkling, but it's not popping. So
yeah, the frequency that comes through the mic is very weird.
Interesting. All right, I have nothing else to say, squad. I'm spent. Brian, do you have anything else to say to the nice people?
I do not. I appreciate your patience with me jumping on the chat. I'm glad I made it here with you all tonight.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you made it on too. It was great. You sustained it. You came in at a time when I needed a second wind. Nation, thanks a lot. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to Scotch Trooper, Brett, his family, you can either do so by going and buying a bottle of that special release Broicolotic that is linked below. You can throw a final super chat on there, and that will go towards the purchase of a bottle. Or you are welcome to just Google Scotch Trooper GoFundMe, and it's a good way to get funds in the hands of his family. I'm hoping that they're going to be good to go. It's just super sad, but thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It was certainly enjoyable. Don't forget to check out the latest episode of the Entry Proof Podcast, entryproofpodcast.com, where you can check out our episode with Josh Devitt from Willet Distillery, talking about the single barrel program there and his journey getting into whiskey as a career. Pretty rad podcast. We got a few more pretty sick ones coming up. Also, a reminder to check us out on Patreon if you're interested in single barrel picks from the Entry Proof gang, which is Brian and I. That's the gang. If you sign up as a patron on Patreon, you will get first access to those for sure. And you'll get bonus content from our podcast, from these videos in the days ahead. That's it. That's all I have.
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks. Stay healthy, stay safe, and remember to keep it neat.
See you guys.